Welcome to Scorched Earth and a general reading for the sign of Aquarius, Sun, Moon or Ascendant for Aries season. I hope you are well. I'm using the 777 tarot for you today. It's a Bulgarian deck. I absolutely love it. So, before we begin, just a little bit of housekeeping. If the reading resonates with you and you would like to go a little bit deeper, there will be an extended that you can access at the end via the description links in the description box below. One takes you to Selfie, where you can just buy the extended for this reading, or alternatively you could come over to my personal community, which is the Order of the Phoenix, over on the Circle platform. There you get extended access to all of the extended content for no extra cost beyond the membership fee. You'll also get what else do you get? Weekly energy readings, and they're anywhere between 40 minutes to an hour long, so we go pretty in depth with that. Access to the deck and walk that we are doing, which is tracking the sun through the sky from Aries season right the way through to Pisces using the tarot. And if you join at the higher level, then you can come participate in all the live classes that we run over there, and there's at least a couple a month, and card meetups and all sorts of things. So if that sounds like it might be of interest to you, you know what to do with those links. Right, let's just set out what we're going to do here. In the midst of all of this pandemonium and chaos and all that kind of thing, I think the most important thing that we can ask ourselves is, where am I right now? So that question is going to be the first one that we're going to look at here. Second one, in honour of the second decan of Aries, which is where we find ourselves at the moment, we're going to have a look at embodiment. Right, what is it that you're supposed to be embodying right now, and what are any potential blocks or obstacles to that? We're going to kind of wriggle through that a little bit, and then I think the second question, the second most important question that you can ask yourself at this time, which is simply, what is the next step? That's it. That's all we need to know at this point, and I think an awful lot of confusion can be eliminated if we simply focus on, where am I now, what's my next step? So that's what we're going to do in the extended. If there's anything interesting that comes up here that looks like it warrants a little bit more investigation, then we'll go there and we'll have a look at that. Otherwise, we will simply focus on what it is that you need to know. So I hope that that works for you. Let's have a look and see what's going on with Aquarius, please. Ooh. So first card out is on its side, Page of Wands on its side. Five of Swords on its side. That's an Aquarius card right there. And one more, please, for Aquarius. What's going on with Aquarius? It's on the floor. Let's have a little look, see what it is. It's the Sun card. That's rather lovely. And it's in the upright too. There's something really quite lovely about that. We'll get into it in a second. Right, tell me about embodiment for Aquarius. What's going on here? So we have the Death card. Scorpio energy speaks of, amongst other things, transformation. But we'll dig into that in a little bit more depth in a minute. Let's have a little look. Page of Cups. Lovely. And the Ace of Swords. Fantastic. We could all do with a little bit of that, I think. And what is the next step for Aquarius, please? That's a little secret hidden card. Let's pop that to the side there. There we go. So we have Three of Swords, Nine of Pentacles. One more, please, for Aquarius. Thank you. We have the Seven of Wands with the Four of Wands at the bottom of the deck. I mean, this is all coming together, colluding, to make something really rather lovely. But I think a lot of it depends on the perspective that you hold as you are looking around at this point. So let's have a little look at that. We're just going to pop that at the side. That was the little secret card that kind of drifted out, and I almost didn't take it. I'm glad that I did now. So you will notice that there are, amongst other things, a couple of fixed signs reflecting themselves in your experience at the moment. We have Leo over here, and we have Scorpio over here too. Like, Taurus is not here, but that's fine. That's not a problem. I don't even know to what extent the fact that it's fixed signs that are showing up in the major arcana is important, but it feels like it is, Aquarius. So we're going to roll with that. Let's start with the Four of Wands, because for me, the Four of Wands is a card of home. And it's home in possibly the physical sense, but more often for me in terms of how I read the cards, it's in that more abstract sense. I mean, who are the people that feel like home? What are the situations that feel like home? You know, it could be that in the chaos and pandemonium out there, right, and the revolutionary spirit that is certainly starting to spool up, I don't know if you can feel it, but I certainly can, that there is a certain level of familiarity, almost like the external world is now reflecting the infinity within, where we have both the possibility that all things are possible, and if it can happen, it probably will. And something being kind of familiar about that a little bit, and sort of watching other signs trying to navigate this and losing their shit and being like, oh, welcome to the inside of my head, right? But I think that there's something a little bit deeper than that going on, because unlike the other fours in the tarot, and 4 as a number generally speaks about foundation, the Four of Wands is the only one where we talk about it being in a state of active creation, right? 4 of Cups is we are feeling stuck, trapped, abandoned. You know, we're maybe wrestling with all sorts of internal demons, you know, about the way that we were brought up, or, you know, emotional responses that we have to things, all that sort of stuff. 4 of Pentacles, absolutely clamping down on things. 4 of Swords is, you know, taking a rest, taking a step back from something. Obviously, I'm just kind of skipping over the meanings of these cards here. There's a lot more to them than that. But with the 4, there's something active happening. We are actively creating the environment, the situation, the foundation that we want to build beyond. It's almost like it's a means to an end. And the end being what happens after versus the foundational aspect of what it is right now. Do you follow what I mean? Let's have a little look behind there. We've got the Queen of Swords behind there. And so it could be active, you know, consideration of what you would like your foundation to be. But it feels like it's in active construction, Aquarius. I do wonder if there's a feeling here that the rest of the world is finally starting to catch up to something with you. Now, you know, I've got to be careful not to sit in a place of feeling a little bit smug about that. Oh, well done, you're all coming to the party now. You've all realised what's going on now. You've all realised the need for, you know, revolution and whatnot. Now, where have you been? Like that, it's not really any of that. And I don't think, actually, thinking of all the Aquariuses that I know, Aquarians that I know, that they would take that perspective. It feels like there's almost an abstract curiosity about where this will go. A detached curiosity, looking around, being like, because to some extent it feels like other people are struggling in a way that you're not. Like, again, this is why I'm saying that I feel like maybe there is a sense of familiarity about what everything looks like now. Maybe a lot of the things that have been coming to the surface in the last 6 months or so, bearing in mind that Pluto is in your sign right now, are exposing, you know, areas of rot and decay and corruption and, you know, sinister shit that you've always been aware was there, if not by detail, but certainly by, you know, kind of instinct. There's something a bit wrong with all of that, right? Possibly something that's been spooling up that natural kind of like, I don't want anything to do with that, thank you, I don't even want to sit with you anyway, that sort of energy, right? But there is a question of where one goes and what one does with that. Because this the page of wands that's appearing on his side, for me, is always a card of a preparation for movement. And when a card shows up on its side like this, what we've got is either a potentialized energy that is kind of shifting into view, right? It's kind of shuffling in and going, I'm just getting ready for something, or it's turning, right? And we've caught it in the process of turning from upright to reversed, or vice versa. In your case, it feels actually a little like it feels more like there's no need to move. There's no need to scrabble away from what is collapsing and what is chaotic. There is, sort of true to form, a rather objective positioning where you are in a state of curiosity more than anything else. So it feels like actually you're vibing where you are. You're like, oh, look at that. Did you see that? You feel to me to be considerably less personally affected by the chaos than most other people that I have read for in this round of readings. And there's nothing about anything that's going on that feels even remotely abstract. As I know, it's very real and it's very happening. But I think that's what you're vibing in. It's in the reality of the moment. You see, a lot of other people are seeing breakdown. They're seeing the pandemonium. They're seeing, the, oh my God, we don't know what's going to happen next. And the thing is, because you naturally, as a sign, someone who's kind of oriented towards the horizon, there's a certain predictability about the way that things show up. Like, I feel like it's quite unusual that an Aquarius would be surprised by things. And so, maybe there's a little bit of you that is saying, oh, well done, you're caught up now. But it doesn't feel smug like that. It feels it feels interested. It feels curious. It feels like what I would expect from a sign that quite often has become used to sitting on the periphery of things, right? But despite your periphery, despite your furthest point from the sun, you find yourself sitting like the sun in the middle of all of it, and not necessarily analysing, but just paying attention to everything. The curiosity is overwhelming. I can feel it. I'm kind of like, oh, look at that. That's just happened, and that, and that. Like, there's nothing surprising about any of it, but at the same time, there feels like there's something incredibly validating about the way that it's playing out. And you're not looking for validation. This is not, intellectual ego smoothing going on here, nice little massage to the ego. It's like you're watching your fellow man discover things that you've already uncovered, that you've innately known, maybe from your position, where you have been before. On the outside of things. I don't know, maybe those things that seemed really fucking obvious in your position, but you're in the middle of it. And that sun looks like less like a sun to me as I'm staring at it, and more like a chaos star. I don't feel any sense of uncertainty about you, but I equally don't feel any sense of a certainty that exists beyond, no doubt, the universe is unfolding as it should. This is right and proper that everything is going on. Now, this Five of Swords, which is an Aquarian card right here, it talks about a certain level of chaos happening on the level of communication and thoughts and words and all the things that we talk about in terms of what the swords represent. It is information passing backwards and forwards. It's the way that we think about things. But for me, because the sword suit is so deeply related to the mind, and I see the mind as a decoding machine more than anything else, then what the swords can represent in a funny sort of way is how much truth one people even are capable of absorbing at any one time, but also how we decode reality around us, and how we negotiate the limits of our own reality, right? There's a lot of, well, you would expect it's very airy, right? But there's a lot of thought experiments. There's a lot of what if. There's a lot of, bouncing ideas around and stuff. Just like the Page of Wands here, there is, there's a potentiality, or there's a movement going on here. But I don't see the movement happening in your own head. I don't feel like you are having to renegotiate the limits of your own reality. You're not looking at the parameters and being like, well, they've all been out, need to shift those out a little bit. It's that sense of everybody coming to meet you where you are. And I don't think that you're used to that, but I think that you're fucking loving it, Aquarius. You're not used to it because that Leo over here in the middle of everything, Aquarius over here on the outside looking in on everything. But there's all this movement that's happening here, and now people are coming to meet you where you are, and that feels interesting and incredibly curious. This is another fucking Leo card just here. It's a card of winning. It's a card of feeling like one is winning, but it doesn't feel like it's an ego state with you. It feels like yes, the masses are starting to pick up maybe what I've been laying down for quite a long time. I don't actually have to move from this place. I don't have to get ready for any, tremendous moves forwards. I'm vibing here. I am paying attention. I'm seeing how, people thinking about things in a slightly wonky way and having a very linear view of things like time and reality and all that kind of thing is changing, because it has to. I think you've waited a long time for where we are right now, Aquarius, and I feel like you are very pleased for us all to be here. There's no turning away and going, well, this is all really fucking dull, I'm gonna go and have a look at what might be coming over the horizon. There is a real curiosity about how this will play out for everybody else. It's incredibly objective, for sure. And I don't feel like you feeling particularly swept up or like I said, personally affected. Maybe part of that is because, Aquarius, in your thought experiments, in your horizon gazing, you've already seen all of this happen. I said this is quite familiar to you now. And your focus seems to be on everybody else. Not in the way of necessarily teacher, leader, guide, right? This is the point where I have to step up and I have to shape people's thinking. I think you're really liking the chaotic way in which people are starting to put things together. Like watching a web being built in real time. And there will come a point where you have a more active role to play in all of these things. But for now, it's just like, no, this is good. This is what I voted for. This is what, Pluto in Aquarius, what the promise of Pluto in Aquarius really was. All the time. So when we come down to embodiment, where we may have any issues with that, or looking at what that is, what form that's going to take for you, it's quite interesting that we've got this Scorpio card here, because it's Plutonian. It's not Scorpio, it's Plutonian. And because Pluto is in your sign right now, you're watching Pluto do its work. You're watching Pluto transform things. It's like you're innately connected to the transformation without actively doing anything at this point to need to push it on. No teacher, no leader, no guide, no you standing in the middle of a park banging a drum and going, oi, can you all fucking listen? Can you all pay attention? None of that is required. No doubt the universe is unfolding as it should. You are watching the transformation in real time. You are watching the death of the old and the birth of the new in real time. And just vibing in that space. Now, that's not to say that if people came to you and asked for your input or your advice or whatever, that you wouldn't give it, because I think that you absolutely would. But your position seems to be much more just kind of in it, watching it happen, being all like, yeah, this is good, than any movement in any particular direction. Do you know what it's like, Aquarius? It's probably going to be a bit of a strange analogy, but it's what I'm feeling. It's like you're watching the birth of something. Now, we know that you're watching the birth of something, right? You're watching the birth of revolution. You're watching the birth of humanity realise perhaps the power that they've already, always had. But it's like, with this page here, it's like witnessing a birth or a rebirth or a transformation of not just one person or another person or a group of people, but humanity at large. And the recognition that there are these new, fresh energies that are emerging into the world that at some point will require a little bit of guidance. But at the moment, they're just kind of coming out, I've just been born, like, what's going on? And this Ace of Swords here, which is following on from what I was saying about the swords, so is that real moment of reality just fucking changed so hard because of information that I received or because of some insight that I've had about myself. Suddenly I can't see the world in the same way. That's very much the Ace of Swords for me. It's very, very new. We've got these energies of newness that are happening, that you're watching happen, knowing that there will come a point where you will start to input, where you will start to teach, you will start to share more. But you're in the observation phase, watching all these like new, washed, clean souls just birthing out right, left and centre. And with a new level of truth that they have not experienced before. This is what I said. It seems like your focus is on literally everybody else at this point, Aquarius. Like you're not participant. And you don't need to be a participant either. Now, the funny thing about this is that there is a way in which this position that you're taking, the way you're watching all of this unfold, with somewhat of the quality of an elder about it, at the same time, is changing and shifting you. Now, I don't know if it comes from the validation of being right. I don't know if it comes from the validation of having been on the money with how you thought things would go, even in terms of your the level of truth that you can tolerate about any given situation versus everybody else that you know, right? That there's something about this process that is doing something really profound to you itself, and I'm not quite sure what it is. I'm kind of feeling around the edges of it, and I can't quite put my finger on it. So despite the fact that it looks like you're just kind of vibing, there's a subtle transformation that's happening of you too. Which is to say that you too are going through your own transformation process, even if it's subtle. The subtlety feels like a positioning. Ace of Swords again. And the positioning is not how do we explain this? The positioning has this peculiar feeling to me, like it's firming up your confidence, it's firming up your sense of connection to a universe, right? That maybe sometimes you felt a little disconnected from. Oh, it's firming up your connection to your fellow man. It's like you overseeing this transformation, kind of watching people be reborn and pop out new and fresh and with different ideas and new ideas of how they see the world. There's a connection to every single one of these that you are developing. Oh, this is profound, Aquarius. You know, Aquarius has always had a kind of love for humanity, right? But we wouldn't necessarily extend that to the individuals that exist within humanity. I have an Aquarius South Node, right? I get the way that it plays out. But here's the thing, as you are watching everybody develop and change, as you are seeing people start to embrace a new way of seeing the world, it's like every one of these is bringing something new. Holy fuck, look at that. Now this is this deck that I'm using here to clarify. I only opened it a couple of days ago, although I've owned it for a couple of years, because it was just kind of winking at me from the shelf. It's called the Arcane Limbus, and it's a Russian deck, right? So I'm not as familiar with the imagery as I am perhaps with some of the other cards that I use, but look at that in the world. Let's see. Can you see that? That is a baby's face in the middle of that. I don't know, it looks like the Colosseum or something, right? It looks like it's being born. That is extraordinary. So the Nine of Swords is at the bottom of the deck, right? And we know what the Nine of Swords is talking about. It's talking about a loss of perspective, right? We usually associate this with being a pretty awful thing. But what if the loss of perspective that is happening right now, where maybe people are seeming a little bit delusional, right? But there is a set of people who are delusional in the right way. And the loss of perspective is the pulling away from the rather Saturnian limits that we've imposed on ourselves, pushing beyond them and saying, actually, do you know what, it only seems delusional at the moment because we don't have mass consensus that this is real. But there is a point where this will come. Does this make sense, Aquarius? This is like, to some extent, you are almost like a consciousness midwife. You just, and actually there's very little you need to do to interfere, right? The birthing process is happening of the world. But every new baby, right, whether it's a soul or whether it's a renewed, refreshed soul that you're coming seeing, mind opening up, recognizing the fake perspective that we've had before and all inching towards a level of reality that is much more on point than what we've been dealing with before. You're connecting with each one of these. The little bond is occurring here. It's filling you up, Aquarius. This is why there's so much joy and curiosity about what you're seeing right now. It's like you are personally affected, but it's quite subtle. It's happening on a very subtle level here. When my first set of twins were born, they were very, very small because they were quite early. They tried to come along at 33 weeks and my labour was stopped artificially, and then it was tablets and stuff, and then they actually finally tipped up at 35 weeks after a really tortuous 2 weeks in hospital. I couldn't leave. I wasn't allowed to leave. I had to just sit there. It's like incarceration, right? And when my in-laws came to meet their granddaughters, my father-in-law refused point blank to pick up the smallest of the two. She was only £3.10 when she was born, right? So she was a dinky little thing. He was like, no, I'm afraid I'll break her. I'll put a bit of weight on first, and then I can trust myself. Interestingly, he was an Aries as well, so maybe he had a point with them, right? But it was that I love this thing, I feel connected to this thing, but I also need to let something happen in its own time and not interfere. But the connection is there, the bond is there, and there will be a point where I step in and start to shape that child's experience, and even just by way of cuddling. And inch them closer and closer to something that is real and true. You feel like you're playing the grandfather role here, a little bit, Aquarius. Or grandmother, yeah. There's a feeling of great joy at the moment, which is extraordinary. So when we come to the next step, it makes an awful lot of sense, what we've got down here. Yes, we've got this smiling woman with the 9 of Pentacles. I mean, she's got a good handle on her resources. She knows what she's dealing with, right? Just as everything that we've talked about here, you know what you're seeing, you know what you're witnessing, and you know where this is going. And this is great. This is good. This is a good management of your resources, is to sit and see. No panic, no fear, no none of these things, just curiosity. Holy shit. But the process that people need to go through, the process that the birthing baby needs to go through, your grandchild needs to go through, is one of discovering for themselves these layers of untruths that we've been working to as a civilization, as a set of civilizations, as humanity as a whole, right? The 3 of Swords for me is about truth, but it's the intersection of truth and emotion. This is not a, okay, well, now I see everything and I, recognize the limits of my own reality and all that kind of thing, right? It's a process. First part of the job is done, but then people need to see this bit for themselves, and then there needs to be a recalibration that happens off the back of that. You're standing there like the smiling Aquarian, just being all like, welcome. I'm not going to fuck with you too much just yet, but welcome. I know that you're here. And there is a tremendous sense of, is it pride? Maybe? It's something a little step or two different from pride. There's a bit of pride there. There's a sense of this is something that's worth fighting for. This is the version of humanity that is worth fighting for. This is the one that you feel connected with. This is the right direction. This is really interesting, Aquarius. I mean, I don't know why I expected you to have a linear, predictable reading. I mean, I know you. This is not how it goes. But this is it's fucking heartwarming, is what it is, actually. And I do think that there is an emotional connection that you are developing here to the. And it's more than an intellectual idea of kind of loving humanity collectively. It's almost like recognizing the individual, each one of the individual water drops that make up the sea, and feeling connected to every single one of them. I'm curious. I'm going to leave it here. And I'm going to go to the extended, and we're going to jiggle around with this a little bit. If you'd like to join me over there, you're very welcome to do so. This is the reading that's felt the most joyful to me of all of them that I've done. Pipping even Sagittarius, I think. And joyful is not generally an adjective that I would have used to describe Aquarian energy, but it is absolutely balls deep in that right now. Like it's I love it. So I'm going to go over there I'm going to go do the extended. You can join me on Selfie, you can join me on Circle if you would like to. I'd be delighted to see you in either place. If that's not your bag, that's absolutely fine. But I'm really loving what's happening here. This is cool. This is very, very cool indeed. So know that I love you all very, very much, and I'll see you soon.